Welcome to Tax990, your trusted platform for filing IRS Form 990 series returns quickly, accurately, and securely. In this guide, we'll walk through how to file Form 990 EZ using the interview-based filing method. This method is especially helpful if you're filing for the first time or prefer a guided experience where the system asks questions and builds the form for you. Let's get started. At the top, you'll see your organization details, including the name, EIN, and registered address. Next, select the tax year you want to file for. In this case, we're choosing the current tax year, 2025. Below that, Tax990 automatically displays the forms applicable to your organization based on IRS thresholds. To proceed, click Start Filing next to Form 990 EZ. Before starting the filing process, Tax990 ensures your organization qualifies for Form 990 EZ. You will be presented with a checklist of IRS eligibility requirements. Your organization must meet all of the following. Carefully review each condition. Once confirmed, check the box indicating your organization meets all requirements. Then click Start Form 990 EZ for 2025 to continue. Next, choose how you'd like to complete your return. For this tutorial, select Start Interview Based. This method guides you through a series of simple questions. It's recommended if you're filing for the first time, you prefer a guided experience, or you want the system to automatically generate schedules. Now we begin the interview-based filing process. The first section is accounting and filing information. Start by confirming your organization's accounting period. Enter the tax year start date and the tax year end date. In most cases, this will be January 1st through December 31st, but be sure it matches your organization's official reporting period. Next, review the filing conditions section. Here, you'll see a list of checkboxes that apply to special circumstances. Carefully select any options that apply to your organization. If none apply, you can leave all boxes unchecked. Once completed, click Next to continue. Next, you'll enter details about your organization's legal structure and IRS exemption status. Start by selecting your form of organization from the drop-down menu. This could be corporation, trust, association, or another applicable structure. Then choose your tax-exempt status. Most nonprofits will fall under 501c3, but be sure to select the classification that matches your IRS determination letter. If applicable, enter your group exemption number. This is optional and only required if your organization is part of a group exemption. Finally, select your accounting method. Choose between cash, accrual, or other. This should align with how your organization maintains its financial records. Once all fields are completed, click Next. Now you'll define your organization's public charity status. This section determines how your organization qualifies as a public charity under IRS guidelines. You'll see several options based on IRS code sections. Select the option that best matches your organization's classification. If your organization qualifies under more than one category, you can provide additional details in the Additional Reasons field. Once selected, click Next to proceed. You'll now reach the summary page. This section provides a complete overview of the information you've entered so far. Take a moment to carefully review all entries. If you need to make changes, you can click the edit icon next to any section to go back and update the information. Once everything looks accurate, click Next to move forward in the filing process. Now we move into one of the most important parts of your filing, the revenue section. This section is used to report all income your organization received during the tax year. It provides a complete picture of your organization's funding sources and helps ensure accurate financial reporting. Tax990 organizes revenue into clearly defined categories, making it easier to enter each type of income correctly. Let's walk through some of these categories one by one. First, select contributions from fundraising activities. In this section, you'll enter details for each fundraising event your organization conducted during the tax year. Begin by entering the name of the event and the total amount collected, also known as gross receipts. Next, enter the fair market value of any benefits provided to attendees. This includes items or experiences participants received in exchange for their payment, such as meals, entertainment, or merchandise. Then record the direct expenses associated with the event. You can select from available expense categories, enter the corresponding amounts, and add multiple rows if needed to capture all costs. Based on the information entered, Tax990 will automatically calculate the contribution portion, gross income, total expenses, and net income for the event. Next, select contributions from grants. Here you will report grants your organization received during the tax year. Enter the name of the grantor and the total amount awarded. You'll also be asked to indicate whether the grant is unusual, meaning it is large in amount and not expected to recur, and whether the payment was made in exchange for services. If it was for services, it may be classified as program service revenue instead of a contribution. Tax990 will automatically separate amounts between contributions and program service revenue when applicable. Once all details are entered, click Save to proceed. Now enter gifts and similar contributions. This section is used to report donations received from individuals, businesses, or other contributors. Enter the contributor's name and the total contribution amount. If applicable, indicate whether the contributor is considered a disqualified person or if the contribution is unusual in size or nature. Be sure to include both cash contributions and non-cash donations, reporting non-cash items at their fair market value. Click Save once all applicable contributions have been entered. Next is program service revenue. This section captures income earned directly from activities that support your organization's exempt purpose. These are typically fees or charges for services that align with your mission. Enter the program name, describe the type of revenue, and provide the total amount earned during the tax year. Only include income that is directly related to your exempt activities. Do not include donations or grants in this section, as these are reported separately. Click Save when complete. Now enter membership revenue. In this step, you'll report dues collected from members. Provide the membership type and the total amount of dues received during the tax year. You'll also need to indicate whether members received benefits in exchange for their dues. If benefits were provided, Tax990 will automatically allocate a portion of the dues as earned revenue, with the remaining amount treated as contributions. Click Save to continue. Next is investment income. This section includes passive income your organization earned from sources such as interest, dividends, rental income, or royalties. Select the appropriate income type and enter the total amount received during the tax year. Be sure to report the gross amount before any related expenses are deducted. Click Save once all investment income has been entered. Next, report gains or losses from the sale of assets. This section is used when your organization sells assets such as property, equipment, or investments. Enter the type of asset sold, the total sales price, and the cost basis along with any selling expenses. Tax990 will automatically calculate the resulting gain or loss based on the information provided, ensuring accurate reporting in Part 1 of Form 990EZ. Click Save to continue. Next is the gaming events section. Use this step to report income from activities such as bingo, raffles, or pull tabs. Enter the name of the event, select the type of gaming activity, and provide the total gross income collected before deducting any expenses or prizes. If applicable, you can also enter related expenses by selecting expense categories and adding the corresponding amounts. Use the Add Row option to include multiple expense types. You'll also indicate whether volunteer labor was used to operate the event. Based on the entries, the system will automatically calculate gross income, direct expenses, and net income. Click Save or Save and Add Another to proceed. Finally, we have the Other Revenue section. Use this step to report any income that does not fit into the previous categories. Provide a clear and specific description of the revenue source along with the total amount received during the tax year. If you have multiple sources of other revenue, use the Add Row option to enter each one separately. Be careful to avoid misclassification. Only use this section when the income truly does not belong in any other category. Click Save once all entries are complete. After completing all applicable revenue categories, take a moment to review your entries for accuracy and completeness. The system will summarize your total revenue based on the amounts entered across all sections. When everything looks correct, click Save and proceed to expenses to move on to the next step. You've now completed the revenue section. Next, we'll move on to expenses, net assets, and the remaining sections of Form 990EZ, continuing the same guided step-by-step process. This section is used to report how your organization spent its funds during the tax year. It provides a detailed breakdown of expenses across various categories, helping ensure transparency and proper classification of all outflows. Similar to the revenue section, Tax990 organizes expenses into clearly defined categories. Each category includes a Start button, which will guide you through entering the required details step by step. Start with the Grants and Similar Amounts Paid section. In this step, you'll report payments your organization made to support individuals, groups, or other organizations as part of its mission. These are typically charitable distributions rather than payments for goods or services. Begin by indicating whether the grant was provided in cash or as a non-cash contribution, such as goods or other resources. Then enter the total amount given to each recipient during the tax year. It's important to ensure that only true grants are reported here. Payments made in exchange for services, such as consulting, professional work, or other contracted activities, should not be included in this section. Those should be recorded under professional fees or the appropriate expense category. After entering the details, click Save to continue or Save and Add Another if you need to report additional grants. Next is the Benefits Provided to Members section. Here you'll report any benefits your organization provided directly to its members or their dependents during the tax year. This can include things like direct financial assistance, insurance premiums paid on behalf of members, or other forms of support tied to membership. Begin by selecting the appropriate benefit type from the available options, then enter the total amount paid for each category. Be sure the amounts reflect only benefits provided to members or their dependents, not general organizational expenses. Keep in mind, this section should not include employee compensation or payments made to independent contractors. Those amounts are reported separately in their respective sections. Once all applicable benefits have been entered, click Save to continue. Next is the Salaries, Compensation, and Employee Benefits section. For this demonstration, we'll be skipping this step since salary details are not included. Keep in mind, this section is where you would normally report total payments made to employees and officers during the tax year, including wages, bonuses, and benefits. When working with real data, be sure to include only employee-related compensation and report independent contractor payments separately. Next is the Professional Fees and Payments to Independent Contractors section. In this step, you'll report amounts paid to non-employees for services provided to your organization during the tax year. This commonly includes fees for legal counsel, accounting services, consulting work, IT support, and other professional or specialized services. Enter the total amount paid to independent contractors and service providers. Be sure that these individuals or businesses are not classified as employees. Do not include salaries, employee benefits, grants, or general operating expenses in this section, as those are reported elsewhere in the form. Once all applicable amounts are entered, click Save to continue. Next is the Occupancy and Facility Expenses section. Here you'll report costs associated with maintaining and operating your organization's physical space. This includes expenses such as rent or lease payments, utility bills, and routine maintenance or repairs. Enter the total amount paid for these occupancy-related expenses during the tax year. Be sure to include only the portion of cost that directly supports your organization's exempt activities. Exclude any expenses related to investment properties or portions of your facilities used for non-exempt purposes. If expenses are shared, only report the applicable portion. Click Save once you've entered all relevant amounts. Next is the Printing, Publications, Postage, and Shipping section. This step captures costs related to producing and distributing materials for your organization. This may include newsletters, brochures, mail campaigns, educational publications, and other informational content sent to members or the public. Enter the total amount spent on printing, postage, and shipping during the tax year. Make sure the total reflects only these specific costs. Do not include staff wages or payments to contractors for design or content creation, as those should be reported in their respective sections. When finished, click Save to proceed. Next is the Other Expenses section. Use this section to report any expenses that do not clearly fall into the previously listed categories. Each expense should be entered separately with a clear and specific description, along with the corresponding dollar amount. Common examples may include office supplies, staff training, software subscriptions, or small equipment purchases. The goal is to provide enough detail so that each expense can be easily understood during review. You can use the Add Expense option to include multiple entries as needed. These descriptions and amounts may also carry over to Schedule O, so accuracy and clarity are important. Once all additional expenses have been entered, click Save to continue. After completing all expense categories, take a moment to review your entries for accuracy and completeness. The system will automatically calculate and display your total expenses based on the amounts entered in each section. If everything looks correct, click Save and proceed to Net Assets to move on to the next step. Next, we move into the Net Assets and Balance Sheet section. This section provides a comprehensive view of your organization's overall financial position at the end of the tax year. It brings together key financial data, including revenue, expenses, assets, and liabilities to show what your organization owns and owes. Tax990 simplifies this process by automatically calculating certain values based on the information you've already entered in previous sections. Click Start to begin. At the top, you'll see the excess or deficit for the year. This amount is automatically calculated by subtracting total expenses from total revenue. A positive value indicates an excess, while a negative value reflects a deficit. Next, enter your net assets at the beginning of the year. This amount typically comes from your prior year's filed return. If this is your organization's first year filing, you should enter 0. You'll also be asked whether there were any other changes in net assets during the year. These include adjustments that are not captured through revenue or expenses, such as prior period corrections or accounting adjustments. Select Yes if additional charges occurred, or No if there were none. Any applicable explanations will be reported in Schedule O. Your end-of-year net assets are automatically calculated based on the values entered. This reflects your beginning balance, adjusted by the current year's results and any additional changes. Next, enter your organization's total assets. You'll report values for both the beginning and end of the year to show how your financial position has changed over time. Common asset categories include cash, saving, investments, and property such as land or buildings. Enter amounts based on your financial records. If your organization holds other types of assets not listed, use the Add Other Asset option to include additional categories. Now report your organization's liabilities. Liabilities represents amounts your organization owes to others. This may include accounts payable, grants payable, loans, mortgages, or deferred revenue. As with assets, enter values for both the beginning and end of the year. If additional liability types apply, use the Add Other Liability option to include them. Tax990 will automatically calculate your net assets, also referred to as fund balances, by comparing your total assets and total liabilities. If the calculated net assets do not match the values from your earlier entries, the system will display a validation warning. For example, your end-of-year net assets should match the amount calculated in the Net Assets section. If they do not, you'll need to review and adjust your entries to ensure consistency across the return. Next, review the reconciliation of net assets. This screen compares your balance sheet totals with your revenue and expense calculations to ensure everything aligns. You'll see both beginning and end-of-year balances, along with indicators showing whether the values match. If discrepancies appear, such as mismatched end-of-year balances, it indicates that adjustments are needed in your asset or your liability entries. To resolve any discrepancies, click Edit next to the relevant section. After reviewing and resolving any issues, click Next to continue. Next, we'll move into the Program Service Accomplishment section, where you'll describe your organization's mission and the impact of its programs. This section allows you to describe your organization's mission and highlight the impact of its programs. It plays an important role in communicating your work to the public and the IRS. Begin by describing each program in detail. Include what the program does, who it serves, key activities, and any measurable outcomes. Focus on results and impact rather than just listing activities. Using specific metrics, such as the number of people served or improvements achieved, helps strengthen your reporting. Next, enter any grants or allocations associated with the program. This includes subawards or payments made as part of delivering the program. Enter the total grant amount and indicate whether any portion was distributed outside the United States. Now enter the total cost of running the program. This should include all direct expenses such as salaries, supplies, facility costs, and other resources used specifically for the program. Only include costs directly tied to the program's activities. Once all details are entered, click Save and Add Another to add more programs, or Save to continue. Repeat this process until all major programs have been reported. After entering all program information, click Next to proceed. Next, we'll move on to the list of officers, directors, trustees, and key employees, where you'll report leadership and compensation details. Here you'll report information for each individual who held a leadership role during the tax year. All applicable individuals must be reported even if they did not receive compensation. Start by entering the individual's full legal name and job title. If the entry is for a business entity rather than an individual, select the option indicating that it is a business name. Next, enter the average number of hours worked per week. If exact records are not available, provide a reasonable estimate based on your organization's knowledge. Now enter the individual's reportable compensation. This includes wages reported on Form W-2 or payments reported on Form 1099. Only include amounts paid and reportable for the current tax year. Next, enter any additional compensation, including amounts paid for health benefits, retirement contributions, or deferred compensation. If applicable, also include the estimated value of other non-cash benefits, such as vehicle use, housing allowances, or similar arrangements. If additional context is needed, you can provide an explanation of compensation. Select Yes to include details, which will be reported in Schedule O. Once all information is entered, click Save and Add Another to add more individuals, or Save to continue. Repeat this process until all required individuals have been reported. After adding all officers and key employees, proceed to the next section. Next, we'll move on to disclosures and explanations, where you'll answer compliance-related questions about your organization. This section is used to capture additional details, compliance-related disclosures, and any required explanations about your organization's activities during the tax year. It helps ensure your return is complete, accurate, and aligned with IRS reporting requirements. You'll encounter three main areas within this section: other information, supplemental information, and liquidation or significant asset changes. Each includes a series of questions designed to identify specific situations that may require further disclosure. For most 501c3 organizations, many of these questions will typically be answered no. Because of that, we won't be walking through each question individually in this demonstration. However, it's important to carefully review every question and answer accurately based on your organization's activities. If any question applies to your organization, you may be required to provide additional details or explanations, which will often be reported in Schedule O. Take your time with this section to ensure all responses are completed and accurate before proceeding. After completing the disclosure section, you'll move into the Section 501c3 4947A1 organization area. This section applies specifically to organizations with these classifications and focuses on additional compliance-related reporting required by the IRS. It helps determine whether your organization meets certain regulatory and operational requirements. Within this section, you'll see four subsections: lobbying activities, highly compensated employees, highly compensated contractors, and Section 170B14 and 170B16. Each subsection includes a start button to guide you through the required questions. For most 501c3 organizations, many of these questions will typically be answered no, so we won't be walking through each one in this demonstration. However, it's important to carefully review each subsection and answer all questions accurately based on your organization's activities. If any question applies, you may need to provide additional details or complete related schedules. Once all subsections are reviewed and completed, click Next to continue to the Signing Authority section. This step is used to identify the individuals responsible for handling IRS correspondence and officially signing the return. Providing accurate information here ensures the IRS can contact the appropriate person if needed and that your return is properly authorized. First, enter the business officer details. This should be the person who will handle IRS communications and day-to-day inquiries related to the return. Provide their name, title, along with a phone number and email address. This individual does not have to be the same person who signs the return, but they should be someone familiar with your organization's financial and operational details. Next, enter the signing officer details. This is the individual authorized to sign and submit the return on behalf of the organization. Provide their full name and official title. You may also enter their social security number for e-signature purposes. This field is optional, securely stored, and not included on the final filed return. Once all required information is entered, click Next to continue. Finally, you'll complete the attachments section. This step allows you to include any additional documentation required to support your return. This may include supplemental statements, schedules, or explanations that provide further detail for certain entries. In many cases, no attachments are required. For this demonstration, we will not be adding any files. However, it's important to review your return and determine whether any supporting documents are necessary based on your organization's responses. If attachments are needed, you can upload them directly in this section. Otherwise, you can proceed without adding any files. Click Next to proceed to the final review and error check stage, where the system will validate your return before submission. Now that you've completed all sections of your return, you'll arrive at the return summary page. This page gives you a complete overview of your filing so you can review everything before submission. At the top, you'll see your organization details, including name, EIN, address, and tax period. Below that, the financial summary highlights key totals for the year, your total revenue, total expenses, net assets, and liabilities, so you can quickly confirm everything looks accurate. If you notice anything that needs to be updated, you can return to that relevant section and make edits at any time. Take a moment to review all sections carefully to ensure everything is complete and accurate. Once you're satisfied, click Continue to error check to move forward. Tax990 will automatically scan your return for any missing information or potential issues before you proceed to filing. Once the system completes its error check and any issues have been reviewed or resolved, you will have the option to share the return for internal review before moving ahead with filing. This step is helpful for transparency and oversight, but if you need to file quickly, you may choose to skip it and continue. Before the return can be electronically filed, IRS rules require an authorized signature on Form 8453-TE, which grants permission to e-file Form 990-EZ. Tax990 prepares this form for you automatically. You can either sign the form yourself or request signing authority from the appropriate officer. If you're signing the form yourself, simply click e-sign and follow the on-screen prompts to adopt and sign Form 8453-TE. Once all signatures are complete, click Complete e-sign, select Next to review a summary of your filing fee and the services included. Finally, proceed to complete your payment and transmit the return to the IRS. With built-in audit checks, guided e-signatures, and secure filing, Tax990.com makes filing Form 990-EZ straightforward, accurate, and stress-free. To get started or file your return today, visit Tax990.com.